Hello, and thanks for joining me. My name is Joseph Rory with the Marion C. Metz School of Common Law. As you see the title, my prayers is that God would destroy all democracies. Now let's think about that. Let's understand what we're saying here. What is a democracy? I would say that the American people, at least the people, does not know what a democracy is or what it actually uh, causes when you make use of it. Now, in some cases, let's get this over with, as far as a clear understanding of when would you ever use a democracy? Is it possible that it's a good thing to have? Our forefathers never saw any reason for it and actually ridiculed it. It was definitely considered in all of their writings that that was a worst form of government you can have. Now, you're saying, well, but aren't we a democracy? Well, no, we're not. And we're told we are. We're acting like one, and everybody thinks we are. But when you go to the actual true document of our country, we are a republic. Now, that's clear enough. Some of you have heard that enough to say, well, hey, maybe there is something to this. The idea of democracies is, as our forefathers said, and many of them pretty much repeated each in the same area, is that mob rule is what democracy is. So let's just sort of cut it up a little bit to where we can split down the idea. And it's easy to understand. You're saying that if everybody runs to a place, and by the way, democracy has a little bit better chance of being legit if it's on a small scale in a small community with just enough people there that they're all pretty much the same anyway. But the idea of a democracy is supposedly the higher number wins. You go to a place to argue what you want your county to be or not be, your community, and you raise hands, and 49% went this way and 51% went the other way. Well, what that's telling you is that 49 of the percent of people will lose, and they will absolutely be at your beckoning choice because guess what? You supposedly won. And that way is the way it's going to go. So, what do you do with the 49 minorities? And, that term minority back before the Civil War actually meant the lower set of people, not necessarily, today it's considered the races sort of. And so, okay, we got a minority to look at. When the promoters of democracy started pretty much, I'm thinking 1834, when they started promoting democracy in their books, they referred to the minorities. So back before the Civil War, minorities actually just meant those that basically loses on the so-called democratic voting system. And in that case, they taught in the books how we're going to cater to these minorities and how it would still work out. But basically, when you go back to the Bible itself, God says, "Set thou not an evil man before you." You're not allowed to do that, by the way. It really is a principle of God. And let's say you got two people up there, and both of them's evil, just one's a little bit less. This is how people think. Anyway, well, I was voting for the lesser of the two evils, and that's still not the right way to do that. I mean, you're just not supposed to get an evil person up there anyway. Voting is a problem, especially after the Civil War, when one, they made you register. Two, they had guns at everybody's heads, making sure that they voted a particular way. They sort of laid off after 1872, was when the last soldiers left the states that they were trying to control. And by the way, you can read it in your records, in the congressional records, where they were discussing that they want to go in and take over the southern churches and the Southern schools because guess what? It's on the congressional records because they don't think like us. And I can guarantee you right now that they don't think like you still. Now, you're over here under the gun in many ways because the federal government is more than took their tyrant methods to fulfill what Lincoln wanted to be done in his days was destroy America and the true principles of the common law. Now, if we're going to go for this, democracies maybe be a good one for you because you just don't be crying and whining when you lose. You remember when you go vote, and it's all strictly dealing with voting, you're agreeing to accept the loss. It's like entering a poker game. If you ante up, you're not agreeing to only if you win. You're agreeing to take the loss if you lose, and that the winner does get the pot. Now, this is the same thing with democracy. When you sign up and you vote, you've agreed to accept the other side if they win. I can't imagine anybody really thinking double-minded like that. That's pretty bad. Because we did establish a republic, which, I'm not going to take the time to fully explain, but it definitely does not allow a democracy. And in most cases, small ideas may be voted for. I mean, nobody's going to make a big deal out of, say, a classroom that's going to have a vote on who goes to the what the field trip will be. Will it be the zoo or will it be the fair coming up Friday or whatever? And you take a classroom vote. These are somewhat irrelevant material. They still speckled with the problems of democracy. I mean, it's still there that the losing people that wanted to go to the zoo ended up having to go to the fair. And of course, it's sort of small terms. Let's look at democracy at just a table where you're sitting down and eating, and you and your uh, uh, spouse and 4 kids are sitting there, and they're asking, let's take a vote for what's for supper. And, the husband says, yeah, let's have some good old meat and vegetables. And the kids raise their hands and they say, let's have gummy bears and let's have cookies for supper. And of course, if you use the actual idea of democracy, hey, guess what? You're eating gummy bears and you're eating cookies for supper. And I'm supposed that will also happen again in the morning when it's time to vote for what to eat again for breakfast. So there's somewhere down the line that we're not supposed to be putting ourselves on numbers. Now, what is going on with this government? That every time you hear them talk, they're going to shove down that word democracy on you, and you're going to end up having you're going to have problems understanding that democracy is your enemy. I mean, everybody seems to be so friendly with it. You can show a bear and pet them in front of everybody all you want, but that bear has got potential to just tear everybody around up. So let's don't try to say that a bear is just all warm and fuzzy and he's cute, because those traits do exist for him. But hey, he's not cuddly like you think. Now, we're not talking about trained bears. You get the point. But the idea is, where are we going to ever stick with God's plan and go His way? Now you say, well, Mr. Roy, aren't we a religious country that just allows any old religion? Well, see, that's another lie. You got that one too. I mean, they're full of it, for that matter. Your forefathers were all Christians. Now, they wasn't the best. I mean, neither am I the best. You're not the best. I mean, we all got our problems. So, hey, come on. Let's don't be picking at what our problems are. I definitely won't be picking at mine. But at the same time, let's look back. Our forefathers insisted upon Christianity. And you say, what? What? How come they said the word freedom of religion, which they didn't put it that way, but they said this Congress would not establish a religion. Well, what did the word religion mean in those days? And what was the normal understanding of it? Even into the late 60s and 70s, I recall that that word religion was still understood by the common person to mean Christian denomination. Think about that. That's all they meant in that word religion, is that the Congress would not develop one of the Christian denominations to override or to be the influence of the rest or try to force it by law. That's all it meant. It did not mean Buddha and Eugene and all these heathens and the garbage that's going on through their so-called beliefs. Immoral. I mean, let's get out of this thing about democracy. You see where we're at today? Think about it. Just take a look. If you have to go to your window and look out, go do it and think about what you see. Go to your television and where they are always reporting all this criminal activity, stealing your money, claiming it's a tax, uh, burning any kind of possible republic form of government out while they practice democracy, and then turn it on you and say, well, you voted for it, and you did. Guess what? That's what you're doing. You're voting, seriously, in a system so corrupt and where they need actually criminally charged. I'm not for civil lawsuits against these criminals up there, and there's not one of them that I wouldn't call a criminal. Not one of them. You name the politician, you name his position or where he's at, whether he's on the Supreme Court or whether he's a president or whether he's in Congress, whether he's in your local office, claiming Christianity. Of course, oh yeah, I go to church. Well, you've been deceived. So you can go to church, but if you haven't figured out that you're helping evil people destroy the God's country. I mean, we started this country as a strict Christian country. In fact, I got a video out if you want to go look at it. 10 facts or statements in the U.S. Constitution that refers to the Christian faith. The Christian fingerprints are all over that Constitution for someone to doubt its purpose. And one more remark on that area before I get back on democracy. There wasn't a state in the Union at the time that showed up for that convention that did not have in their own personal constitution that you had to be a Christian before you can take office. Now, where would we be at today? Well, I know all the pagans and the thieves and the robbers and the murderers and all them that wants to do everything against God. Well, they'll be against you, and they can come up with all kinds of things that's just not fair and blah blah blah. But it's not your country if that's where you are. If you don't want anything to do with our true country and our true laws, well, pack up and leave. And you say, well, Mr. Where, why don't you go if you don't like it? Well, I'm the one that was here, and that's what I'm doing is I'm sticking to the original Constitution and its Christian-based principles. Now, you want to come in here and destroy that, you become an enemy. That's what you would be. I look at every one of them as my enemies. I don't look at anybody on the Supreme Court as a friend of mine. I don't look at them as even an associate of mine. We know we don't even contact these morons. But they're enemies. When they pass and claim that they've got powers to overthrow all Christian principles to support the pagans and support the perverts and the everything that Sodom and Gomorrah was. I mean, if people think that it's okay now because the government says so, there's some problems here that you're doing religiously. If you think that God is okay with that, okay, so your government passed it, we'll live with it. God would owe Sodom and Gomorrah, every one of them, an apology. And he should resurrect them out of hell and dust them off from all that fire and brimstone. And he should also I'm looking at a comment, and he's talking about a Webster's dictionary. And of course, I can get into that. The Merriam-Webster Company, after it sold out, Merriam-Webster died in 1842. The Merriam Company bought the rights to it in 1847. And in 1864, they falsified definitions and got rid of very lot. I've got a list of them. I've got a YouTube on that too. So we do want to understand that, if you're going to read any dictionary, you need to get rid of all those that's present. There's none of them worth reading or learning from because they're slanted actually against the old way. So anyway, back to democracy, I do want you to understand the importance that it is against God. He's not ever set up something that just whatever the people vote for, y'all can have. And if you're establishing a country that you're saying is of God, well, you sure can't put a democracy in there and say, yeah, but we're all Christians. We believe in democracy. Because definitely God has never, basically, if you really look at it, has never allowed the majority to rule. He's considered, if you get overthrown, there apparently is a majority somewhere there. But that's what you call overthrowing. And you're in bondage. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. Now think about it. How much bondage are you in right now from the crunch of this democracy that we have, stealing you blind, setting up pandemics, setting up food shortages, anything that we got to have more taxes, and we're just dying without it. So we just got to have more, 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 more. It's awful big. It really is more than it should. You should have less government. Because if you would deal with strictly the common law, the can't kill, rape, steal, these type of things that were clear enough, do we need a million legislative acts to add to the simpleness of what law can be? It's just the crimes be dealt with because they're true crimes. Don't add something in and claim that it's a crime. I mean, for instance, the fishing license, driver's license, business license, marriage license. All these things are permission slips, basically, is what they're saying, is that you got to get our permission before you do it. Is this not a right to begin with, and yet the government can step up and just tell you in your face, according to democracy now, we're here now because of all these voting majorities and so forth, and where we're at. Is that right to do that? You're under bondage. If you have to ask permission for everything you do, I mean, I've said this several times, you can't even set up a pencil stand selling pencils. That the government don't think that you got to ask for our permission to do something like that, because we need to know that you can sell those pencils right. You can be certified by us, and you're a better. You're better. Well, sorry, but it's the other way around. When I look for people to do anything for me, I'm looking for someone not certified, not licensed, because I know that they're nothing but followers of the government, and in most cases, they don't care, and they don't. As long as they're making their money, they don't care. And that's one of our problems we have. And it's all got here because they're under the stress of all the extra taxation. Uh, for the most part, most of it is illegal. There are some still legal taxations around, but and I'm all for taxation as long as it's legal, as long as it's right, and it's going to the right purpose, not being deceived. That you pick it up and then you go run it to another country and throw it on them. Well, I'm not interested in that. We need to take care of ourselves. Remember, the preamble to the Constitution plainly states for the United States. That's what that Constitution is for. It ain't for them. It ain't for people piling in here. They're invaders. A lot of, and just where we got to understand: are there illegal immigrants? There's no such thing as an illegal immigrant. It just doesn't exist. It's a term that the media and the government talks about, and because it's an imagination, it's impossible to be an illegal immigrant. You just might put another video on that if you show any real interest to understand what is an immigrant. They have no business calling them immigrants when they're basically nothing but invaders is what they are. And that's how you deal with invaders is, trespass. And trespass, you get arrested and you don't go to the building where they're going to make sure that you get registered and get done right, and all the millions of dollars, and we'll take care of all your medical deals and all that, and then we'll get you in for invading us. This is what's going on. So it all came from democracy. Now ask yourself, if you read your Bible and you understand God's principles, at least somewhat. I mean, who knows all of God? Nobody. But let's face, there's a general amount that we do know. And we need to stick with that. He does not go with one perversion. So you can't vote perversion in as a practice of the country. You can't pervert these murderous things, which say abortion and so forth. That is nothing more than telling God that, we don't care your offsprings of what's going on inside the woman's body. And we don't believe it's nothing more than a fetus. That makes it all different. You read to find what that human being is. Maybe the lowest uh, maturity range space of a um, human can be is way down there, barely at conception, but it's a human. Nobody will ever be able to prove it'll come out anything else. So it's human, and you're killing it. So, I mean, we do this all the time. It's on and on and on. And we're being lied to. Don't you ever get mad at being lied to? I can't stand someone to lie to me. I mean, it's stealing the truth from you. You ask a question, you should get the truth when you ask that question. But someone willing to lie to you is stealing the truth that was supposed to be yours. So this is the point that I would like for anybody to. All right, I do have a writer that's bringing in a few notes. Appreciate it, and glad you're on. Hey, I got one person here. All right, I'm getting there. All right, so here we are. We're trying to just get the basics out. I'm probably not the right man for this. I mean, I've got speech impediments. It's not necessarily me. There's better people that can do this, and there's better people that knows this, by the way. And so if you're hearing this and you're saying, well, yeah, I should be doing that because I am a better person than Joseph Rory. Okay, then go do it, because until you're doing it, I guess I'm going to do it with my low key abilities and my minor high school graduation that I can prove, hey, I went 12 years. Well, the problem is with that is that you think too much in that area, because democracy has helped get all these bureaucrats in. I think, when you look at what's happening in the school system, which is poisonous to anybody's mind, to be called into classes and make people just sit while a teacher throws a handful of books throughout the day on them. And then that's education. But we were doing real good before the schools came in. If you go back, we got thousands of years behind us that we were not having problems being pushed and forced into a government school. And they can call it public school all they want. That's just however you want to define the word public. Because you go to the Black's Law 5th edition, and you'll find that by the time you get through reading that definition, you pick your choice, because it can mean any one of them at any time. So go do that. You'll find out that just a few people can be the public, according to Black's Law Dictionary. Of course, they're liars too. So, you got to learn who this is about. Am I actually calling people liars? I am, because, if you lie, you're a liar. That's how it works. I mean, I'm just defining what I'm seeing, and that's my word and term that I get out of this. I don't know what other word to use. So if you're being lied to, and maybe if you just got one lie in, maybe you wouldn't say he is or she is a liar, but I'd say about the second or third for sure you are. All right, but who cares? I'm just telling you where I'm at on that. You're being lied to, and you should be very upset. You should be ready to overthrow your enemies. Think about it. Am I saying overthrow the government? Oh, no, I'm trying to get the government back. My goal is to get the government back. They're the ones that got overthrown. I'm trying to get them back. So any enemy of mine that needs overthrown, I'll be glad to overthrow them. If there's any way I can undermine them, I would do that. Anything to destroy them and get them back to another country where they can do their thing. They can just leave the good old USA alone. That's any of them. So you can take it what you want. For that matter, you can blame me for claiming that I'm practicing law without a license. I don't really care how you take it. If I'm telling people about the law, giving advice and all that, I really don't care, because the idiot government that will come at me is nothing but administrative agencies, and I will go down knowing that I went down the truth. It doesn't matter if they come and beat me up and throw me away. The point is they're liars, thieves, and robbers, and they're under the name of democracy. So my question to you: do you want a democracy? Let's get it in your head which way you want to go here. I care. I have my attitudes, but I do care. I do know that people's been deceived. Even the judges and the so-called law professors have been deceived because of the teachings that they got, especially through the Great Dictionary Conspiracy, where their words now are taught according to the new definitions that was put out by Merriam-Webster in 1864. And you need to go trace that down. You'll find out that just from one issue, from the 63, go to my YouTube. I actually, I can bore you to death because I can do that. I actually read off each one of those dictionaries. And there's more. Those words from that dictionary from the 63, what it said it was in 63, and of course 62, 61, 59, etc. back. It was always that. All the way back, even before our Constitution, these words meant that. We developed those words because it was already in existence and had the definitions they had before we wrote up the Constitution. So now you've got 64 coming along, and guess what? The Merriam-Webster Company deceives everybody. So, even your judges need to be confronted with their ignorance to the fact that you don't even know what law is, because you don't even know the definition of these little key words like federal, state, e pluribus unum, democracy, republic, Constitution, Congress. Hey, did you know that? They actually changed the word Congress. So if a Congress is what they say it is after the war, then that's what you're under right now. You're under that definition of Congress. You're being deceived. Wake up. Destroy democracy. God help us. We need help. And we need some new Moses-like to come in. I know I'm not going to be able to be the new Moses type, but we do need a Moses type that can come in and just really grab the people by their words and lead everybody back to where it's supposed to be. Somebody needs to. You spread this. This is not the best in the world. And, I don't really apologize. I'm just me. That's all I can be. But, it would be best if greater speakers would come forward. So I pray that democracy is destroyed in this country and all countries. For that matters, I'm just going to really center in on us right now. My concern should be us first, beginning in the house, and then to Jerusalem and the uttermost. We're supposed to take this gospel first, step by step, is what we did, but we had to begin in Jerusalem, then to the uttermost part of the world. And in this case, you do the same thing. You need to get your neighbors. You need to get your county involved and your state. Don't even worry about that federal government. They have no official powers over the states. None. The states rule the federal government, not the federal government rule the states. Now, that's another thing backwards after the Civil War. Okay, that's going to be it for right now. I'm sorry that I couldn't say more. There'll be more videos if I get enough information that people want to see more. I've been resting on them because I'm really not getting this response, and it's to me a bad sign that people don't care. and you should care. This is a problem, and God does want you to care about your neighbor. Am I my brother's keeper? Of course, that was the idea of that, wasn't it? Of course you are. Win this for your neighbors as well. Don't just think of something for yourself. Okay, this is it. I appreciate your time. Until Shiloh come, this is Joseph Roy with the Mary C. Met School of Common Law on Facebook. You can go and join it. And we have lessons every Friday night, with an exception of a few here and there, but it's normally there. Until Shiloh come.